Hello, Jim Howard here. Today's date, it's October 4th, 2010. October 4th, 2010. Do not look at the screen. Do not look at the screen. I want to ask you what happened in history on October 4th. You looked at the screen. The Soviet Union in 1957 launched Sputnik 1, the world's first Earth satellite. Let's real quick. This is a short uh, YouTube video. I'll put the link down below.
On October the 4th, 1957, while the Americans were still finalizing their plans, Sputnik was launched.
Then its casing opened. The springs snapped, and the nose cone was pushed out of the way. A ball with 4 antennae emerged to go it alone in the darkness of space. And a radio began to send a signal back to Earth. Humanity had entered the space age.
Yep. I was in high school. Let's see, 1957. I would have been, let's see, 55, 56. I think I was a sophomore in high school then. And I had a shortwave radio, and I picked up the radio signal of it, Sputnik 1. It was transmitting on 20.005 and 40.005. I picked up the 20.005. That was not the recording. I didn't make a recording of it. Back then, I would have had. I don't think I would have had a tape recorder. I would think I had a wire recorder at that time. I believe maybe I had a tape recorder at that time. I also sent away for I sent them a reception report. I wrote down the time and the frequency and sent a reception report into to the USSR and got back a QSL card, a verification card. I'm sure that they didn't actually check to see, I'm sure they just, everybody who wrote, I'm sure got one of those verification cards back. Uh, I didn't get any mention or anything like that in a newspaper, anything like that. But a lot of amateur radio operators, did, as you can see here from the screen. I mean, that's just a few. It was, I wasn't shocked myself. At that time, like I said, I was in high school. I had been listening to Radio Moscow and other, international shortwave broadcast stations. The Radio Moscow had even sent me uh, Russian language lessons uh, through the mail. I had subscribed to a magazine, I think it was called Radio, a USSR magazine in the Russian language, and I had bought a Russian English dictionary. And I don't know if they actually had an article in there before the launch or not, but I really wasn't surprised. But it's made worldwide news, front page. It scared the hell out of Americans. I'm not sure if our government officials just responded to the thing politically or whether they were really that frightened. I'm sure that the story is that, well, I think actually they were really shocked by it. The story is, I think that the story was at that time or right after that, well, I know we were going to launch, we were getting ready to launch one. It was the International Year of the United Nations had declared it the International Geophysical Year or something like that, and other countries in the world were all doing projects with each other and separately. And we had announced that we were going to launch an Earth satellite, and we'd given, I think, information about it and everything else. We just didn't expect anybody else to do it or the Soviet Union to do it. And I believe that if I remember correctly, but I don't think we'd formed. I think NASA was formed. Aeronautics and Space Administration, National Aeronautics and Space Administration was formed because of Sputnik going up and us having to. Uh, I think that back then it was at about that point was the Army had their rocket. I think it was a Redstone rocket, and Navy had, was it a Vanguard or can't remember, but the plans had been made for us to launch a satellite during that year. We were getting ready to launch one, and I think some other branch of the military, whichever one it was, Army or Navy or somebody, had said, hey, we can do it right now, launch it. And I think they, oh no, we're waiting for the international, uh, waiting for this other group to do it. And then after this, I think there was some people saying, "Oh man, how stupid! We should have launched it when we could have before the Soviet Union did, because it was fantastic propaganda." In high school, I was very much I was very much anti-communist, but I had the government printing office send me a lot of documentation from the House Un-American Activity Committee, and which was actually, they were very un-American. The committee was, but I got the nickname and I think it was because somebody brought up something in a class. It was brought up about how backward the USSR was, and we didn't need to worry about them and whatever. And I don't know if it was because I had read the radio magazine or whatever, but I had defended them and their technology or something. And right after this, I think this happened. And so in that little, my classroom or whatever, I got the nickname of Comrade. But it started the space race. It heated up the Cold War, and when the USSR launched it, they just got tremendous publicity. It was a spectacular, stellar propaganda piece. I can remember tuning into Radio Moscow and them telling the frequencies, that you could pick it up on, and it was really a time. And this is the anniversary. I'm not sure. Let's see, 1957. Well, how many? Well, anyway, this is the anniversary, October 4th, Sputnik 1. Um, I'll put the link to Wikipedia. I'll put the link to that YouTube video. Um, if I can think of another link, I will. Oh, see the Soviet stamp here. I collected not just, well, I liked Soviet stamps. Space stamps. I collected those. Uh, I collected some U.S. stamps and some other country space stamps. Um, it was an interesting time. Right after that too, I was putting out a shortwave club mimeographed publication to 500 club members, and I started doing a column, space communications column. So at the beginning, it was just, Sputnik 1, you know, apogee, perigee, orbit time, frequency 20.005, 40.005, and then before long, and I had an entire list of objects that were in, satellites in space and the frequencies that they were transmitting on, and I gave the And I had, not sure which agency it was, every day I got in the mail orbital information printed out. This is before the internet. You would not, every day I got a stack of paper with orbital information, and I put that out into. I headed up a research group for Office for Satellite Scatter Coordination, Research Group C, and we we were just amateurs. There was professionals in other groups. Our group C was just amateur radio operators, shortwave listeners, and there was things that happened. There was Project Needles, where the United States and a lot of people objected to it, thought there might be some uh, launched into space, a whole bunch of little tiny needles, and to see what effect that would have on communications. I forget the name of the project, but I remember listening during that. There was the United States actually detonated a nuclear weapon up in the ionosphere to see what effect that would have. And I was our research group or whatever. We monitored communications between, I don't know, Australia and the United States, depending on where you were, and to see what effect. We were listening to a radio signal on a certain frequency, and then the explosion took place, and what happened to the signal? Did it drop down, or was it enhanced? So it was interesting times, and you know, all of us nowadays we're all interested in the internet and that type of stuff. Back then, I was interested in shortwave listening, and that was an interesting time. And this date reminds me of it. October 4th, 1957 was, no, wait, it was October 4th, 1958 that it took place. No, launch date was October 4th, 1957. It was launched at 1928 Greenwich Mean Time. So I finally got that right. So thanks very much.